Chaos erupts here in LA County. Widespread immigration raids triggering protests from Paramount to downtown. And tonight, an unlawful assembly has been declared as President Trump announces he will be deploying thousands of National Guard troops here to Los Angeles. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the News at 10. I'm Rick Chambers. Major developments during a second day of violent confrontations between protesters and federal agents who are out on the streets trying to round up undocumented immigrants. As I mentioned, President Trump has ordered 2,000 National Guard members to counter that violence. And that angered Governor Newsom, who said that the move was purposely inflammatory and will only escalate the tensions. We've got team coverage tonight of these raids. KTLA5's Lindsay Pena is in downtown L.A. Sky 5 is over the situation as well, but let's go to Chris Wolf. He's in Compton tonight where the clashes first erupted earlier. Chris?
So far, there has been an anti-ICE protest in Los Angeles, and so far it has turned violent, where the government has to deploy National Guard to come in, take control of certain area in Los Angeles. And a lot of people are frustrated because they feel like the government agency ICE was given too much authority to start arresting illegal immigrants, especially throughout Los Angeles. And a lot of people are angry because some of them have family members. Some of them have family members who are illegal immigrant, and they feel like that authority should not be given to them. And they're using other means. They start burning cars, burning equipment, throwing rocks. Government is afraid probably this type of violent protest could probably spread throughout maybe Los Angeles, throughout California, and even throughout the nation, which will be really concerning because we have seen similar thing that has happened like this during the George Floyd protest that basically rocked the nation. It affected a lot of major cities throughout the nation where there was a lot of vandalizing, there was a lot of looting, there was a lot of arson, there was a lot of property that was destroyed, a lot of businesses went out of business, a lot of people could not afford to pay for the cost and the damage that was caused by so many people. So I see why the government is probably concerned, and the president is sending in National Guard to make sure this thing does not spread.
Unrest in Southern California continues tonight with more clashes between protesters and federal agents and deputies and police over expanding immigration operations. Take a look at the scene behind me. This intersection here in Compton has been the scene of several street takeovers, so it is a hotspot for activity. We've seen continual fireworks going off. The police chopper is overhead. Now President Trump says he is sending the National Guard to this region. Last night we were in downtown Los Angeles, as many viewers may remember. Earlier today we were in Paramount, now Compton, all volatile locations. Chaos and calamity rocked Paramount Saturday on the second day of demonstrations against federal immigration operations in Southern California. KTLA was on the ground and in the air, capturing the explosive environment. The mayor of Paramount says tension escalated after U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and other federal agents were apparently staging at or near a local Home Depot center.
And ICE is here, terrorizing the community.
Throngs of protesters gathered in the industrial area, sparking more clashes between law enforcement and members of the community. Crowds taunted authorities, with some people going so far as to block a U.S. Marshals Service bus, while others hurled rocks and other objects at law enforcement vehicles, according to the L.A. County Sheriff. Federal agents responded with pepper balls, rubber bullets, tear gas, and flashbangs.
In the last several hours, unfortunately, the crowd has grown. We believe at this time it's at approximately 350, maybe 400. As the crowd has grown, it has become more violent.
A wooden pallet and then a car went up in flames during the unrest, sending black smoke into the air. The cause of the car fire is unclear. Federal officials say the government is doing its job, enforcing the law, protecting the public, and securing borders. Opponents say this is not justice, but madness, and that hardworking people are being treated like criminals.
You know, my whole family is scared, our neighbors. I came out and wanted to see what was all the commotion, and sure indeed, there were ICE agents. It's starting again.
Yeah, beanbag. Yeah, they threw several beanbags at me. I went near them and I said, I'm here for a peaceful assembly.
The Homeland Security sweeps are part of the Trump administration's unparalleled crackdown on illegal immigration. Back here live with a large...
So far, the government has been successful cracking down on these protests, but how long can the protests keep this up? Because so far it has been 2 days, and how big could it get? That's the question that most of the authorities are basically asking, because as you can see, a lot of people will be frustrated seeing these type of images. They'll be mad because they feel like, you know, what the government is doing is not right. There's a lot of people in different spectrum that probably will want to join the protest because the economy is not doing well, maybe because they lost their job. You'll have a lot of people that probably might even join the protest because they don't like President Donald Trump. And you have a lot of people who in California who might join the protest because they don't like the current governor or they don't like the policy that's being implemented. So there's a lot of reason why a lot of people could potentially join this protest because, you know, it's their way of expressing how they feel. Yes, the government is mentioning that the people that were protesting, they did not have the authority, or it was an unlawful assembly and it became violent. We're not here to promote violence in any form of way, but at the same time, the government will try to take every measure to try to protect people's property, people's belonging, people's lives. And if it turned violent, the government does have the authority to try to basically crack down on anybody or anything that is basically try to create those type of chaos throughout the city. So I see why a lot of people are mad. I see why a lot of people are concerned. I see why a lot of people are scared. Like that young lady said, her family is scared. Her family is nervous because in her family, she probably has a lot of people who are illegal immigrant. And she's probably concerned about them. Maybe they could potentially get deported, get arrested by ICE, which they were given much more authority by the current government.
In Compton, according to ICE, agents arrested as many as 118 people in Los Angeles this week, including 44 during operations in downtown and South Los Angeles on Friday. We'll have more coming up throughout the night. For now, reporting live in Compton, I'm Chris Wolf, KTLA 5 News.
All right, Wolfie, we'll see you at the bottom of the hour. Thanks. From the ground, let's go up to Gil Levis now. He's overhead in Sky 5. Gil?
Well, Rick, we're showing you here Atlantic Boulevard and Alondra Boulevard here. This is the second time today that the LA County Sheriffs have taken back this intersection. As Chris Wolf was just telling you, we see that burned out car in the middle of the intersection here with the law enforcement there. The Sheriff's Department have moved in and retaken the intersection here. Traffic is open on Atlantic, both north and southbound, but Alondra remains closed here. But it was quite a scene here just a short time ago when the county sheriffs here were further back. And let me take you up the street here. They were all the way back by the 710 freeway here when they were struggling with the protesters to get control of this street back. Again, you can see fire department coming into the scene right now, but it looks like a war zone down here. The good news is they've recaptured the intersection here, and it looks like they've so far dispersed the crowd quite a bit here.
Yeah,
Send
obviously
it
we're
back to you in
having.
the studio.
All right, Gil, I was just going to ask you, the crowd seems to be diminished considerably. Do you see anybody standing out on the sidelines just watching what's happening?
Yeah, there's quite a few people here at the gas station and down the street here west of Atlantic. You can see the crowd has kind of dispersed because of the activity by the Sheriff's Department. Now, the fire department, not sure why they're rolling into the scene right now. I can tell you there was a small fire that broke out near, in fact, you can see the smoke there still coming up out of this area here along the strip mall. But again, the crowd has moved further west here, and that's good news for people on Atlantic. That's the latest overhead. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Gil, we'll talk to you throughout the hour. Thank you for that. In downtown LA, federal police have established a skirmish line to keep protesters away from a detention center there, which has been targeted over the past couple of nights. Lindsay Pena is live for us in downtown LA with more on that. Lindsay?
Yeah, Rick, we're on.
This is concerning for the government because the government is afraid that this type of protest can probably escalate and be spread out throughout the country. You know, on his first term, President Donald Trump experienced similar situation with the George Floyd case, where we saw a lot of people throughout the city in Los Angeles, throughout the city in the nation. We've seen places like Portland, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Indiana. There were multiple cities throughout the nation that was basically rocked by protest, and it was violent, where a lot of people lost a lot of property, where a lot of people lost a lot of businesses, and there was a lot of vandalizing, there was a lot of looting. It was such a huge embarrassment, let's just say, throughout the world, because a lot of countries in other places of the world basically was publicizing what was going on. And they basically was pointing finger at the United States, because I think at that time you had countries such as China, who was cracking down on basically the protests in Hong Kong. You had a country like Iran, who also was having issue with their protests with the women, and many other things that was going on. So it was form of a aha moment for many countries throughout the world, pointing finger at the United States, saying, see, you guys always talk about freedom of speech. You guys always talk about democracy. People have the rights to do this. People have the rights to do that. And you guys talk about how our country don't have the freedom of speech. But you guys are basically doing the same thing that we be doing when people turn violent when it comes to protesting. And it was a little bit of an embarrassment, where countries started mocking the United States. But at the same time, that George Floyd protest basically had a lot of property damages that the government was trying to basically try to crack down on. And it came a time where we were also dealing with the COVID-19, which was really rough.
Step out of the way so you can see what is happening. You mentioned that skirmish line officers are starting to move towards us as I speak. Everything started over at the detention center earlier this afternoon. We were there for everything. We saw the confrontation between those demonstrators and the federal officers who came out of the detention building and deployed pepper spray. They deployed the flashbangs. And as you see, we're walking down Alameda now towards First Street. The LAPD officers are pushing us back further away from the detention center. You can see there are still protesters and activists out here right now filming everything that is happening. We also have seen lots of those protesters disperse as they push them further back. We have the chopper overhead right now. Again, this started with federal officers, but LAPD is now on scene. We will continue to stay out here and update you as this situation develops. Rick, I'm going to go ahead and send it back to you in the studio right now.
All right, Lindsay, thank you so much. LA's mayor, Karen Bass, issued a new statement addressing this unrest, and she said in part, quote, "We've been in direct contact with officials in Washington, D.C., and are working closely with law enforcement to find the best path forward. Everyone has the right to peacefully protest, but let me be clear," she said, Violence and destruction are unacceptable, and those responsible will be held accountable.
So far, this is what's been going on in Los Angeles, where there's an anti-ICE protest that has turned violent. And the authority don't even know how far this will go. Maybe this is a crackdown that probably will not be able to spread, but the government is taking measure by deploying National Guard to make sure that this does not basically spread like the George Floyd case, like the George Floyd protest that happened a couple years back throughout the United States, where it caused a lot of property damage. And I hope, nobody really get hurt. I hope nobody end up getting seriously hurt where they're hospitalized. And I hope cooler heads just prevail and things just get better sooner or later. Until next time.